I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, say this is right, just representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know the game play, that me not say it. If me never seen a game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you are gonna love over your son.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember, like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Trini Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices. Add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
All right. Good evening and welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am your host, Maninsman, and this is such a fantastic day, especially if you support the team that paints the entire London in its colors. It is the Arsenal. As we continue to be on a upward momentum and move as we outplayed, outclassed, and defeated Liverpool at home today to sit atop of the EPL table, right? Just go on easy in ourselves. We haven't played anybody yet. That's what they say. So I don't know what, they're saying now. But it's a good day for the Arsenal fans. My Liverpool friends, you have a special part in my pinky finger, you know what I'm saying? Not in my heart, that's all for Arsenal. In my pinky finger, there's a little part for you. So you are going to rebound, you know what I'm saying? But big up to all of you. Welcome to the platform. If this is your first time, I warmly welcome you. So good to have you. And be a part of the family and subscribe if you have not done so yet. Also, you have to hit the like button. It's very easy to do. There's an X there that you need to just press that X. You see the like button, you press that and you come back to the video. You must also share this video with someone else. It's going to be very riveting, informative, and there will be principles that you can learn if you're involved and engaged in football. All right, so make sure that you do that. All right, there's something else big that is happening. All right, and when our special guest comes on this evening, we're going to talk about it. But today is actually the launch of a new product from I Am Sure Sports. It is called I Am Sure Sports Caribbean. And so this particular interview will be the first interview to be featured on that platform. So though it's on the regular I Am Sure Sports platform, by tomorrow you will see it on the I Am Sure Sports Caribbean platform. And that platform is my guest today. He's going to be doing a lot of shows on that platform, talking about not just Jamaica's football, but football across the Caribbean, in particular Trinidad and Tobago, because that's the place he is from, and that's, we have a passion for what happens with the Reggae Boyz. He has a passion for what happens with the Soca Warriors, and so he'll be doing a lot of um yeah. And here's why: because he has watched the Jamaican platforms, right? And he has seen by our 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 advocating and speaking about things, how things have changed in local football. And he wants to add his voice in a constructive and positive way to change in and shift the dynamics in what is happening in TNT. We remember the Leonson Lewis, the Russell Latapi, the Dwight York. We remember those players, and that you could almost, see Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica at the top of everything in the Caribbean when it comes on to football. And so he's going to be doing a lot of that content on that platform. So stay tuned for that. And so you're going to have to find it. I am sure Sports Caribbean. We're going to give you the link so you can go over there and subscribe to it, and you will see him there. All right. So wanted to do that. But before I bring him on, big up to Noel Monfries. Our time now. He's a gunner, right? Adrian Nicholson, Arsenal still a go finish fifth. Get out of here. Get out of here. Adrian Nicholson. Get out of here with your I don't know. Get out of here. Good evening, Mr. Arsenal, Broadman Security. The security. Hey, security, talk to Adrian Nicholson for me, please. I don't know how he got into the dance with such a comment, but big up Adrian Nicholson. Also, a big thank you to the sponsors of this video. The sponsors of this video, they are Prestige Finance, lending a helping hand when you need it the most. You can call Prestige Finance at 876 884-7390. They are located in Linstead, St. Catherine, Jamaica, and they are offering loans of up to 100,000 Jamaican dollars. There is no processing fee, same day processing, and only 0 to 4% interest rate. Also, a big thank you to Launch Legacy, where they handle risk and they seek legacy for all your personal insurance needs in Canada and the USA. You visit them at launchlegacy.com, or you can call and text them at 647-989-0782. Launch Legacy is that place that when you stop working for money, they will get your money to start working for you. I see the first Liverpool fan in the building, Royal Garrell, aka the Stickman, the Liverpool man. He says, big up I Am Sure Sports. It would be very nice if you said big up Arsenal as well. Big up to the JC man, IT Push, over there in Trinidad, supporting the Trinidad man. He says, Trini in the house. You're a Jamaican. You're not known Trini. All right. Big up Tuffy Rudy says, bless up, man, is money, man. Blessed day. Church was awesome today. Paul Watkins, man from St. and supporting York Castle. He said, I need to go and check on Ryan. Ryan, check. LFC. Here where me I say no. And another show this fit talk about EPL. Do that on another episode. All right. You what the Liverpool men are saying. But I'm not going to steal the thunder of my guest. Very brilliant football in mind. You understand me? You can tell because his sons are pros playing in Europe, and one plays in Europe, doing very well, part of the national team over there in Trinidad and Tobago. He works out of really North Carolina, where he does a lot of coaching work. He has also worked with Jamaicans before. And so we're going to invite him on, and he's going to talk to us about just his own footballing journey. And we're going to talk a little bit about Trinidad and Tobago's football. And we're not here to tear down TNT, but I'm telling you, we are very strong when it comes on to our opinion about Jamaica. And so he just wants to speak about what needs to be done from his perspective to help with the transformation of the game in Trinidad. Trust me, Trinidad should be doing better than they are. And so we're going to talk about some of that today, hoping that we can bring some change. And here is my guest. They call him Fortune, Andre Fortune. I mean, he's very fortunate. You understand?
I felt that way this morning with a 3-2 result, although I predicted 3-1.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? Let me see, because I wrote down my prediction, but this is not the EPL show. But I got
But we can't go without mentioning that,
I had Arsenal 2-1.
right?
All right. But it's 3-2. I had Crystal Palace 2-1. Crystal Palace 1. I had Chelsea winning, Chelsea 1. I had Man City winning, Man City 1. I had Newcastle winning, Newcastle 1. I had the West Ham game with Fulham tying, but West Ham won that one 3-1. And which other game did I miss? The Bournemouth Leicester game, I had also a tie game there. So I got some predictions right.
Well, I predicted 3-1 Arsenal. It ended up 3-2. It was a little bit nervy for a minute, but
Yeah.
that's a big result. That's a big result. Those are the teams that they say that Arsenal can't beat, right?
Yeah. So, listen, you know what? They banter me every day that we don't play nobody yet.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who you beat. That's going to be the conversation.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter who Arsenal beat. but hopefully it goes that way till the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
That Arsenal stays on top of the table and people keep saying we ain't playing nobody yet.
But very good game. You know what? I must say, we're not going to talk about Arsenal for the entire show because we're two Arsenal fans. But I must say that more players, that Liverpool have been playing without Jota. They played a few games without Thiago and Henderson. So they had back most of their players. The only player you could say was missing is Robertson. Right, and Tsimikas is a player that is very good, and I mean, in fact, none of the goals really came because of any error on his side. Really, you understand me? So they had their best side out there in terms of available players, and it was a very good game. But I felt like they did not create enough chances that I could look back and say they could have gone 4 more goals or 3 more goals.
Right.
I saw where Arsenal, in my opinion, created more goal scoring opportunities, especially in the second half where we were completely dominant, because even the Firmino goal I thought was against the run of play. But yeah.
But Arsenal had 45% possession, Liverpool at 55, and Arsenal created more chances.
Yeah. Because in the first half,
had more touches in the box.
Yeah, you know what happened? In the first half, it was 68 to 30 something. So I think whatever dominance in this, because Liverpool from probably the 15th minute to the end of the first half, Liverpool dominated. Even the Arsenal goal was during Liverpool dominance, and so I think Arsenal had the better the play in the second half. So I can see the possessional stats looking that way.
So any other team, it seems, if it's Man U, if it's Liverpool, whoever, they would be lauded for being able to win after being dominated at different times of the game, right?
Yeah.
But when Arsenal win, it doesn't have the same credibility. Unfortunately.
Listen, I want people to continue to underestimate Arsenal and continue to play them down. That's better for me. That's what I say. That is better for me if they keep acting that way. Yes, but welcome again to I Am Sure Sports. We're gonna keep your YouTube comment name under wraps, so people don't know.
That's a good decision.
If they don't know, they don't know.
They don't
know. Yeah. But we are here with Mr. Andre Fortune, and just tell the people a little bit about you. You're from Trinidad. Someone in fact said, a Cobra Arsenal man says Fortune looks like Darren Bravo. Bad.
Well, he's a Caribbean man, so
yeah, man. So begin by telling us a little bit about you and your roots and beginnings in Trinidad and Tobago. And did you play any football at all? And just give us a little bit in a synopsis what your journey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be short because, as I said to you backstage, I don't like talking about myself. But I grew up in Trinidad, and under this, my time growing up in Trinidad, sometimes you're almost embarrassed to say that it was difficult, but it was difficult. You didn't have the best of conditions. I played football in Trinidad. Yes, I played for some of the I played for Jablotay, for Maple,
Whoa.
and for Alvin Cornell Coaching School. You know, I played for the local team in my area, Cookreed Ball Giants, for a period of time, where actually, as a young person, I believe I started to learn the game. I joined the Alvin Cornell Coaching School, and I learned that, you know, there was the way I like to say, there's a world bigger than Trinidad. So that had a lot of influence in me deciding to leave the country and travel overseas, because as part of the coaching school, you'd make trips overseas. We went to Brazil. We played in Brazil. We came to America a few times. We went to Canada. So touring was a part of the experience. And as a result of that, I like to think that I ended up moving to America, attended college in America, played in college in America. And after college,
You have to tell us which college you play for, man.
a small school in North Carolina called UNC Pembroke. It's part of the UNC
Oh.
school system.
Okay, yes.
So UNC is one school with different campuses.
Campuses, right? So
Right?
University of North Carolina.
Right, University of North Carolina is one school with different campuses. I went to school and played at UNC Pembroke, and which was good for me at the time. After school, I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. Started to work and coach at the same time. Started my family, had my first son, and because I was coaching, he was always around the game, and fell in love with it from that stage. And at some point in time during my work career, I decided that it wasn't for me. That I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. I always had that type of mindset, and plus wanted to had my ideas of how I wanted him to learn the game. Had my own ideas of how I wanted him to learn the game. So I started to work with him individually to try to get him to the place that I get him the foundation that I think would be necessary to give him a chance in the game. So, and I did that for a while, coached at a few of the clubs. There were some things that was different that I saw different.
That is your son, Andre Fortune the second?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. There were some things that was at the clubs that I had different ideas about. I had a second son at the time, and obviously as you grow, you learn from your experience in life. So what I decided that I needed to provide a different outcome for my younger son, and I met this gentleman who had the same challenge with his son, and together we started a football club about 10 years ago. Actually, it's 10 years this year.
Whoa. Congratulations. And what's the name of the club?
Interdevelopment Football, we call it. IDF for short.
Okay, and that is in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh, North Carolina, yes.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so that is you and the next.
We practice in Cary, essentially, yeah.
Oh, so that is just you and an next parent wanting to give your kids different experience, and you started IDF.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. A quick segue. I mean, your sons, both of them play professionally now.
Yeah, one plays at Atlanta United. He's the captain of Atlanta United 2 team. Just signed a contract to go with the MLS team starting in January, and the other one he played here in the USL, and he's now over in Europe in Estonia.
Also, one is in Estonia, and one is moving to the Atlanta United, not the second team, but the first team, come January, having captained the USL, the one in the USL, which is Atlanta United too.
Yes, he's the current captain.
And the both, I mean, Trinidad just participated in the King's Cup. Were they part of the Trinidad and Tobago team? Have they represented Trinidad at the youth level or at the senior level?
Well, they were raised to represent Trinidad and Tobago. I feel like, look, having lived in America for a long time, I've been in America for about 3 decades. I've seen a lot of my colleagues at a time when the game was not as it is today in America. I feel like we contributed to the development of the game, and you see the game grow but you're also looking back at your home and you see that the game is not going at the same pace.
Yeah.
Based on having been living out here for a long time, based on the public dialogue, right? The public dialogue and what you have seen, you feel like the game could grow at a faster pace. But those two boys were developed to represent Trinidad and Tobago. So Andre did it at the under 17 level and at the under 20 level. Lost to Panama in a World Cup qualifier in Panama. I think that was back in 2015, probably. The one that was hosted in Panama.
Yeah.
And he represented Trinidad at the under 20 level. I think that was the last year they had the Caribbean
In the 20
Caribbean Cup,
championship. Yes.
right? And Trinidad won that, of course. And the younger one, Ajani, he represented Trinidad at the under 17 level in Florida at the last under 17 tournament. And
That's one that comes. That's around 2 years ago.
yeah, but probably I think it's 3 years ago, wasn't it?
3 years, yes, 3 years ago.
Yeah. He played for Trinidad. They actually, Jamaica was in the same group, and he's now have, I think it's about 3 caps
For the senior team.
for the senior team, and Andre has 9. It's been around for 15 games, but 9 caps. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So they are part of you'd say they're part of the Trinidad setup. But congratulations to you and to them. I mean, but as a father, because I mean, I know you listen to our platforms and you hear the plight of our football. You know, sometimes as fans locally, we just feel like our football has gone backwards since 1998. I know Trinidad had a qualification after us,
Right.
and it would also appear that it is similar that the football has not advanced. I don't know if that is the same sentiment with the persons in Trinidad, but we feel like since 1998 we haven't made much progress. What it is like since your qualification for the World Cup?
The qualification happened, and I was in Germany, and it was a beautiful experience. People showed a lot of respect to you being from Trinidad, at the time the smallest country to ever qualify for a World Cup. We had a very good situation at that time. It is very difficult to qualify for a World Cup for a lot of countries. However, I feel in CONCACAF, I feel that Trinidad and Jamaica, as a matter of fact, should be in the top 6 in CONCACAF every time around, right? Shouldn't be too far from that. We have the ability. We've shown that. But I think the question one would ask is, have we taken care of the ability that we have, okay, to allow us to be in that position? I don't think that has happened since, and I think we should do that. Football is an industry, and people are making a lot of money off of football. There's a lot of money to be had for qualifying for the World Cup, for winning stuff, whether it's the Gold Cup or whatever the case may be, and we just should be part of that. I certainly believe that, and that hasn't happened. We got to the height of the game at the World Cup, and it hasn't happened since.
Okay, and that is true, because when we look at it, I mean, I've always heard like the Jamaicans who go to Trinidad, they would say, well, at least Trinidad has multiple quality surfaces in comparison to Jamaica. So there seem to be a lot of infrastructural work that has taken place. So you would want to think, based on that, at least Trinidad should be ahead because they have the infrastructure. Their league, I understand, with the police team, Jobelet, San Juan,
Jabate.
Yes, they have some teams that used to do very, very well because they say a lot of money is pumped into the league. Even players from Jamaica have gone over there and played to earn, right? So you'd feel from that, well, they have a professional league, they have good surfaces, they have more monies at their disposal. So why like I said, why aren't they progressing and doing well consistently? I think Kenwin Jones and probably the last name of any like did things at any high level out of
Mm.
Trinidad that the rest of the Caribbean would be familiar with. What are the causes are the problems that lead to we're not seeing that with Trinidad in this time?
So a lot has happened since, and more recently, the pandemic has caused a lot of things. I mean, currently there isn't a professional league. I think
Oh,
there's been work done to put one in place. Um, there was a under 20 tournament that happened not too long ago. There was a tournament. There's a tournament among some of the teams that were in the professional league, like the Army, like the police, and some other teams in the country. But those were for a short period of time. And now there's the school football taking place. Look, and for I'm going to respond to this, not just I'm going to respond to this as far as the region is concerned. I think it's a better way to tackle this,
yes,
right?
yeah.
As far as the region is concerned,
Regionally, right? Instead of
because
specifying,
everybody have their own concerns and opinion about it. But as somebody living abroad, based on the public dialogue and what you see um, broadcasted or you read about, it seems as though, look, you have kids. Do you have kids?
yes, yeah, yeah, man.
Right, you have kids, and I don't know what your upbringing was like, but from the day from the first day your wife, your girlfriend, whoever it is, got pregnant, um, you wanted the best for that child.
Yeah,
You wanted a better environment for that child than you probably had, if that's
definitely.
possible,
Yeah,
right? I know I certainly want it for my kids. Okay, so I've worked very hard to try to give my children the best environment. In football, we talk about environments, okay?
yeah,
And what is an environment? Okay, we're talking about having good pitches. We're talking about um, having good facilities, whether it's dressing room, training pitch, the best balls, training kits, the best minds in football. Okay, people that are nurturing and caring and loving and want the best for every child in that environment, just like you wanted for your children. Just like I went to UNC Pembroke, but I decided if my kids were going to go to school, they had to go to Ivy League. So if they had gone to school, one would have gone to Princeton and one would have gone to Stanford, right? Those are the conversations we're having in football,
okay, okay,
right? I wanted the best for them. So what I think, because football information is out there, nobody has any luck on football information, right? I could learn something from you as a coach. Hopefully, you could learn something from me. We could all learn from each other, right? It doesn't matter how small the bit of information is. But I think the idea that as football coaches, as people working with children, I think we need to start at the place where working with somebody's child is a privilege. That's certainly how I look at it here, right? People are bringing the children to you every day, and you have to make decisions that is in the best interest of those kids. You have to
yeah,
want the best environment for them, just like you would want for your child. And I think I'm not so sure. And again, I go back to the island, but I could only talk based on my observation of what has been happening, right? Understanding that I could be wrong about some things. I feel that that's an area that we need to improve in considerably,
right across the
right
Caribbean.
across the
Yeah,
region,
yeah.
right across the
Better
region.
environments to develop the talent and the abilities of the kids.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and look, the people that work with children, or would work with players. Look, at the end of the day, who you studied history,
yeah,
right? And who history has shared with us that had people work for free, based on your understanding.
If people have worked for free in the past,
Yeah, under what environment?
Under what environment? Well, some were under slavery and
Right, under slavery. And how often do you read about coaches not being paid? Coaches not being paid in time. I've lived in America for about 3 decades. I've never had a problem collecting a check for work that I've done. Right? So I think all of those little things, and that has nothing to do with the football itself. This just has to do with realizing that, look, we care about our kids just as much as any other country does, and we want to create the best environment for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we need to start. And the football part of it, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of coaching education is taking place now in the region, and there's a lot of information that everybody is exposed to. The world is.
The football world has opened up where you can just go on
it's
your
at your fingertips.
It's at your fingertips.
Yes.
But what about, because all right, let me give you a very just take the quest, because you said something so important, that the people need to be paid. Right? You can't expect the coaches to pass on all of this valuable information and they are not being paid, which is a part of the Caribbean culture. Mm-hmm. You probably check at the lower levels, most coaches are not paid. It's free, which is what you're alluding to, that there needs to be compensation to help in the development of this talent, and that's key. All right?
Well, it's an industry and people are making a living from it, just like the young people who get into football, they have aspirations. They want to become professional footballers. And I think that we have a responsibility. Look, I started a club about a decade ago, and I started working with a group of players. And I don't think any of them, outside of my young son, had ambition at 9 years old to play professional football. But because of how the club was run, you find that people start thinking that they can play professional football, right? And that ambition just grew over time. And in a decade, to have players, you have a couple of players that you have been part of their development for a period of 4, 5, 6 years that now play in the MLS, right? There's 2 players that would be in the MLS next season. There's one with MLS Academy. There's several that has gone on to college. That's a short period of time, but I believe that the football information is the football information, but the environment, right? The standards in the environment help allow them to start to see. Because one of the things we do, because I knew what it did for me growing up, is that we made trips. We went overseas, right? We exposed them. We were fortunate enough to go and play in places like in England and played against Premiership clubs, right? Why does Manchester City build a facility for $100 million, right? Why do they build that? That's where they go every day to work, right? And that is important to and the kids train there, the pros train there, and it's a beautiful facility. And we were fortunate to be able to play in a place like that, and that helps build the self-esteem of the kids to have such experience and get them to dream about potentially being in a similar environment or being in that environment.
You know, that's a very important point, because you think about it. If you bring kids in an environment that you just spent 100 million euros on, that is just going to shape their whole mind and thinking, that immediately their whole mindset shift. No, Let's think about the Caribbean. When some of our kids go to, it's just a football field, poor surface. Mm-hmm. There isn't even proper changing area. Yep. There may not even be a pipe there that if you get dirty, you can take a shower. That's probably across the Caribbean, and I like what you're saying, because that sort of environment can have an effect on the minds of the player. Like, how does he think professional and maintain professionalism in an environment like that? And I like that, because we need to realize that these guys don't just build expensive stadiums. They also build expensive training facility. and that makes a lot of sense. Which is we need some of those things in the
We,
Caribbean to
we,
elevate the football. Yeah,
we need to understand that it's important. It is an important part of the development of our players. I think it's Brentford. Um, yeah, I think it's Brentford. They used to, in the past, they used to share the field with a university, right? And the university had priority. They're a professional club, but they share. And now today they have a world class facility that you train how many hours a day you put in, right? Sometimes it's 4, 5, 6 hours you're at that place. That's where you work. You play at the stadium for 90 minutes, 97 minutes. You spend very limited time at the stadium, right? And the stadium itself is nice. But the place that you train every day, I'm not sure in the region that we understand or we accept that it's a very valuable part of what we do. And I think if we can look at my football club, if you don't show up with your training kit, you have to have a very good reason to get to be able to train on that day, right? Because it's about the standards, right? And if I allow you to show up without your training kit and practice, then you'll do it again before the week is out, and you'll do it again, right? And all that means to me is that you're not preparing the night before. You've got to prepare the night before, right? If we were a professional club, then you didn't have to walk with it. We'll have it ready for you, right? We'll have it ready for you. So we have to create an environment for our young people that prepare them to go in to those pro clubs.
yeah. All right. So like, let me just ask, because there are so many questions I have just here that I want to go through with you. Doing very well, great. I mean, very very good information, great information we're getting here. Just seeing it from a different perspective. But let me advance the discussion a little bit more. Now, with all of this expertise, have you ever like said to the TNT FA, because they have gone through some turmoil? I know they were, which some Jamaicans have been saying, yes, this is what needs to happen to Jamaica. FIFA needs to come in and take over. Now, Trinidad has gone through that. I don't know how close you are to it, but do you think that kind of takeover where FIFA comes in is a good thing for a nation, or a nation should try to fix its issues so they don't have to be in that position, because it may affect the growth of the football?
Look and understand the Caribbean. I'm walking on in a minefield here, right? Because I've got two kids that play for Trinidad, and but at the end of the day, look, we value education in the Caribbean. We value education, right? I was speaking to a young man the other day. One of the things that we have done throughout the pandemic, we were able to open our environment for kids from Venezuela, from Mexico. Um, we even had a kid from Jamaica come in and went to nationals with us, and we've been able to open the environment. As I said before, football is an industry, right? And I don't know that any federation would want um, anybody to come in and take over something that we should be able to do for ourselves, right? The literacy rate in some of the islands in the countries has been put out in the 90s, right? So we should be able to take the federation and run it in the way in which it's supposed to be run,
Yeah,
right? And whether it's Jamaica, any federation in the region, any federation in the region. So I think it can be considered unfortunate. Some would say it's unfortunate that FIFA has to step in to do for us with what we should be able to do for ourselves, right? But at the end of the day, if it's not being done, look, there's a lot of federations in Europe. What do? They make money. They make money, and they run the federation efficiently, right? They play friendlies. They do whatever needs to be done. For some reason, in some of the federations in the Caribbean, it's not happening. I'm not sure why. You read about it. I'm not sure why it's not happening, but it's not happening, and we should be able to do better because we are an educated people.
yeah. Yeah. All right. I know you're normally on the platform and you see that in Jamaica, I don't know if it's similar with Trinidad. There are so many Jamaicans who are doing what you're doing in the States and other places in the world. They
Mhm.
lead academies all over the States, probably in all 50 states. There is a Jamaican
Mhm.
running an efficient and successful
Yeah,
football.
you all figure out how to get it wrong. You all figure out how to get it wrong.
Right? There we have persons in England and just other places, right? But then it's where I think oh, the Jamaica is not just a geographical location,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Outside of the borders of Jamaica, there are many Jamaicans who have a wealth of knowledge. The
Mhm.
knowledge base, I think, is even greater outside the shores of Jamaica when you
Mhm.
think about Jamaicans, right?
Right.
But then you will say, why are they not involved in bringing the sort of change that they are making outside of Jamaica in Jamaica, right? Why? And maybe somebody from Trinidad listening now and said, why isn't Andre Fortune doing what he's doing in Trinidad? What he's doing in North Carolina, why can't that be done in Trinidad? Why isn't he investing his time to help bring Trinidad football to where it's supposed to be? Because this is where the help is doing. And they say, well, he's over there in the United States making the good better when we have our own island here that needs it, which is what some people say about many Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica. All right, what do you say to that?
So that's a good question, and it's a complex one because sometimes it has to do with um, what I've experienced is that you being from Trinidad and living outside, you don't have the same you can't you can't speak to your people in the same way as if you're living there. You have to be careful, right? So, and there seems to be a struggle with just accepting that. And I think there's some people that might have made it difficult. I've done a lot of work in trying to make sure that I look, my first thing, I've given my best piece of work back to the country, right? My two kids is the best thing that I've done in my
Okay.
life, right? And I've
Yes.
given that back to Trinidad. I would love to. I just agreed to have a kid from Trinidad come here and spend the next 2 months, right? I would love to, and I know many people that would love to, but it's just not available, right? I've said to myself recently that I'd love to do it anywhere in the region. But then you have to think about it. What has the experiences of others been, right? Others have left here, and you read about in the paper, some of them you grew up with, so you would have conversations with them, and they would go in, they would leave here, they would go in with the same intention, and then they end up going to court,
Yeah.
right? They end up going to court to get paid, right? A problem
What you
that
think?
doesn't
What you
exist.
think? What you think causes that? Like there is, though it is needed, there seem to be a resistance that is faced by those from outside of the islands wanting to come into the island, by those who are in the island, when those in the island admit that they don't have the resources. So on the one hand, they are saying that boy, we need help. But when Andre or some of the other the Jamaicans or the Saint
Mhm.
Lucian or the Bajan decide, okay, I am coming from England, I'm coming from the
Mhm.
United States to help do this. It's like they're coming to fight. It's like I'm
I
coming into a
think
fight when it should be a welcoming ease in getting things done.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'd say this to you. I think it's unfair for both of us to try to answer that. I think a clinical psychologist would be better prepared to answer that question to figure out why that is the case. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because we can speculate, and we probably would upset some people if we speculate, but that's a reality, right? And we wouldn't look. I've been listening to you guys, and you guys just had a new coach,
Yeah.
and I think he's been welcome, right? His everybody um everybody has dropped their guard, right? There's not really any offensive anymore.
No criticism anymore.
You understand what I'm saying? And look, he's come in, he's trained with the team for what, about a week?
Yes.
Right? He's played one game, very little time to bring players in and try to get a result, and against a very tough opponent. And so you've got to give him credit. I watched the game, and I think it's probably the best I've seen Jamaica perform in a while. Is that the bunks? You know, when you're in club football, you get a new manager, right? The players perform a little bit better. Is that the reason, or is it something that he did that causes that? We don't know, but he's going to have an opportunity. The behavior is a little bit different to what you've been hearing for the other guys. Look, at the end of the day, Bob Marley have a song that he sang a while back called Rat Race.
Yes.
Right? I can't remember I don't know what year that he put that out. But
what a rat race.
Yeah. And I find it instructive.
That's the only part I know. I don't know the verses. I just know.
That's what I'm getting ready to point out, right? That's what I'm getting ready to point out. We all know that. Oh, what a rat race! But he has a phrase in one of the verses called collective security. It's a phrase that used in international relations, right? And it has to do with NATO and those organizations. They deal in collective security, things that we have in common that we think we need to protect, right? Yeah. We need that mindset in the Caribbean. We need to understand in the region that we have a lot of things in common, and what we want to do is for the game to grow. This last summer in England alone, about $2 billion in revenue through the transfer of players was moved. And I'm not sure if any of that made it to the Caribbean. I'm not sure if any of that made it to the Caribbean.
No, because even the Jamaican players who played are the ones born in England.
Right. And that's only England, right? We're not talking about France and Germany and right. So that's a lot of money to not be a part of. And we love the game. We play the game. So we need to change a lot of things. And when I talk about a clinical psychologist, that's not, I think that's serious. I think we need to understand why it is. People are moving back to South Africa and Ghana and different parts of Africa to try to lend their expertise to help make these countries better, right? It's not happening. It's not happening in the region.
Yeah. Somebody's saying here, TNT people is just like Jamaicans. Once you no longer live on the island, they see you as an outsider. So
it sure does feel that way sometimes.
Yes.
It sure does feel that way. Look, my two sons play for Trinidad, and I don't think they are viewed as Trinidadians, even though, right, we all did math in school. 1 plus 1 is 2. A half and a half is 1. So their mom is Trinidadian. I'm Trinidadian. They just happen to be born in America, right? You would expect them to have the values of the island. They will have they will understand it at minimum, right? And yet it seems as though they're seen as outsiders. But I must say, they've been given the opportunity by the Federation to represent the country, and they embrace that. They embrace that fully, right? Yeah. They embrace that fully, and it's a privileged position to be in, and we appreciate that, and they try to make the best of that. But it's not. There's a taste of it sometimes, even though it might be from the fan base.
Yeah. You know what? I think that is when the team doesn't win. Oftentimes, the eyes are turned on those who I don't know. The Caribbean people think that they are not Jamaican enough. I'm going to give you a good example of a cricketer. Maybe that's the best one that played for the West Indies. I think his name was Brendan Nash. Who had some connection to Australia. He played for Jamaica, and he made the West Indies team. And I just felt like he was given a harder time and treated differently than the other players. You
Right.
know, and again, this idea that you're not one of us, though
Yeah.
you are Jamaican. You're not one of us, though you are Trini. You're not one of us, though you're a Lucian. You're not. You're still not seen as one of
Right.
us because you don't live here. Because
Right.
it's a different you when you live here
Right.
than when you live in the peace and comfort of some other country. And I think that is something that we have to look at. And like you said, the Bob Marley song, it actually says, I'm singing that when the cat's away. I think it goes down and says, I'm saying, when you think it's peace and safety, a sudden destruction, collective security for surety. Yeah. Rat race.
Yeah.
So that is the line in the song that you were speaking to. I think Duklan is saying that the song is from 1976. Yeah, man. We also see Troy Malcolm. Troy Malcolm is head of the Rossies. Rossies is a high school in Jamaica. They have what they call the Brosis Foundation there, building facilities down there for the football, for the sports department, and he's in the States, which is what we're talking about. So,
Right.
welcome to Troy Malcolm and the rest of the Rossies fan base. Now, one of the other things I'd love to also ask you is. Let me just see this. Michael Garden, who lives in the States, says actually this is a debacle for immigrants, a foreigner in foreign and a foreigner at home.
Yes.
Wow.
Sometimes I feel like I belong somewhere in the middle of the Caribbean and America, somewhere out in the ocean out there. Because sometimes you
You don't feel welcome where you are.
Yeah.
You don't feel welcome at home.
Yes.
That's a very
Yes.
good point, Michael.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where is home?
Yeah, where is home?
And I'm saying that you're someone who was born in Trinidad. Imagine your
Yes.
sons who were not born there.
Yeah, yeah. They weren't born there, but they grew up in a Trinidad household, right? They've been going there from since they were small. So to them, when the opportunity came to play for the national team, it was normal, right? The
Okay.
food, everything, it was normal for them, because they've been looking forward to that, right? They've been looking forward to that. But sometimes even the fan base, you can see sometimes if a performance don't go quite the way the fans want it to go, who do they pick on?
Yeah.
Right?
The outsiders.
Yeah. Who do they pick on? Right? So it's one of those things, and I've been quiet about it, and I'm not gonna try to make a deal. But at some point in time, you feel like you need to defend them, right? Somebody needs to defend them.
Yeah,
Right?
it must be difficult for you because while they're still part of the national team, you have to be very, diplomatic. You have to provide protection for your son, but you have to also understand that what you say could also affect their own personal careers, which is a very difficult position to be in.
That is a reality. But the fact of the matter is, I am sick and tired of seeing Caribbean teams underperform at tournaments, from the youth level all the way up, when we could and should be better, right? The teams from the region, whether it's under 17, look, it's not easy as the first group of kids. If you do the math, and you lost a game, a 90-minute game, 10-0, which is some of the scores we see sometimes at the CONCACAF level, right? That's a goal every 9 minutes. That's a goal every 9 minutes. That could never be good, right? The kids could never feel good about that.
Yes.
Right? So are we doing what we need to do to put them in a position to be competitive? Because we could be closer than we are at the moment, because there are countries in CONCACAF who spend a lot of money preparing for these tournaments. They do get to the World Cup sometimes, and sometimes the outcome is not even close to, right? Because World Cups are very difficult to win, but we can be closer. We can do better, right? We have to be planning. Is there on the 17 Jamaican team in training right now?
They were in training. They took a break because I think the schoolboy season, but the competition started in February. But they were training like close to the whole under 20 tournament. There was, and they should have participated. So we don't know what is happening because there was a U20 program or competition that was put on where the under 17 should have participated in it, and they didn't. So I know they should be starting back up at some point, but they have a competition in February. But I figure because of the schoolboy competition, they are not in active training.
So we have to figure out how because how many of those guys in that under 17 group, whether it's there or in Trinidad or anywhere in the region, how many of them have ambition to play professional football? All right. Just maybe a couple of weeks ago, just recently, you know, and they're the standard. They're the standard in CONCACAF. The USA just had an under 17 team in somewhere in Europe playing in a tournament, right?
Tournament, yes. Their under 17 team is playing a lot of games because this is part of the problem with the Caribbean. Like when we go to this tournament, the USA national team, under 17 team, and the Mexican under 17 team, they have played like over 10 games at that level against other high quality opponents. So they have more professional minutes under their belt than our players coming out of our high school system.
And look, we can't, I think it's difficult to compare the high school system. You know, DC United started a 17-year-old last night, right? And he scored a goal. Barcelona last week in Champions League started 2 18-year-old and a 19-year-old in Javi
and Arsenal played a 15-year-old recently.
Recently, right? So it's difficult. Canada have players all over Europe, young players all over Europe. The future is looking bright. So I think, you know, America has a league that has grown tremendously in the last 20 years. In the MLS, have the USL. You can't imagine how many players, it's too much to call names, but that has gone from the USL to the MLS and on to Europe, right? America have a lot of players playing in Europe right now. And I hear sometimes on the chat, people are talking about the USL as though it's useless, right? I don't think it's the right way to look at it because players are developing in those leagues. Players are making a good wage in those leagues. Players are in a professional environment when the day come. So how could we not see it for what it's worth?
Yeah. There's a place for it. I think if you're a 19-year-old and you get to move from Jamaica to the USL, you set yourself a target. I can stay here for 1 or 2 years, develop a little further while I'm looking for a move. I think the issue people have is when these guys, because of the 2000, I don't know what the consistent payment monthly, they stay there and never move, and they end up spending 10 years there, and still, I think that is the issue. I think really, if you're 19 years old and you get to play in the USL, you have to maximize that. You have to go there, set yourself a 2-year target, hoping to break down some other door somewhere, right? But if you're going to stay there for 10 years and wait until you're 29, that may be it for your professional footballing career at a higher level.
I agree with you. I think you're correct with that. If you're going to stay there until you're 29, your career is basically over. But you have to have a plan.
Exactly.
Okay. And if that, because while there are a lot of opportunities in football, there aren't, right? So in America, there's a lot of players running around. They have academies, they have the pay-to-play system, they have a lot of players that they have access to, okay, to be in those spaces. So for us, and that's where the preparation is important. Yeah. I worked a couple of years as an agent, myself as a licensed agent under FIFA, and my plan was to help players from the Caribbean, particularly from Trinidad and Tobago, and that was interesting. That was very interesting. I know agents now in the game that struggle with the player from the Caribbean, because when you go into those spaces, you have to be prepared. When my sons went to play for Trinidad, they were prepared. They were
Yeah.
prepared in that they understood the culture and they know how to behave. So they got along with everybody. So it's just like if you're coming out to the Caribbean, to whether to go to Europe or come to America, you've got to be prepared. You have to know that it's important to be on time, right? I had trouble with that with the players that I represented. It is important to be, if the team says you got to be in the lobby by 10:15, you show up at 10:10. If they say you need to be on the bus by 10:30, you get on the bus by 10:25,
Yeah.
or even 10:20, right? To become
Which is why you and I agree that maybe when you're young, going to the USL for a time may help develop that professional side where you learn, because I think in our football you can turn up 5 minutes before the game and still play.
wow,
And I know that I've seen that in Jamaica, even at the high school level.
right.
You know, people will even put your name on the match card. Because they know you're going to come late. They start all with 10 players because you're going to run late. And I'm
And,
just
and that's not doing that player any favors. That's not preparing that player
exactly.
for the next level, for the next challenge ahead. At the end of the day, we have to be preparing them to be productive members of society if football doesn't work out, or to go into a professional environment and function, right? And we have to take that responsibility seriously. That's not a responsibility that you take lightly. So you might do that so that you could win a game, but in the long run, it hurts the player.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Because I think, as maybe not all the nations in the Caribbean, but as many as possible. Now, one of the things with cricket, though we have not been dominant in cricket, but one of the things that happens is that a lot of the cricket things in the Caribbean are all connected, right? Though there's one West Indies team, every territory you would say have a cricket team, right? But they all come together for one. So the ideas and the coaching, there's a lot of movement and communication. You'll see they try to make effort where players don't have to play in their territory for the 4-day tournament or the 50-day. So you'll have Trinidadians in Jamaica, you'll have Jamaicans in Guyana and stuff. What I want to find out is that, is there a place for us to kind of do some of the footballing stuff that way? It's every territory has their own team, but I'm very sure that our collective effort in terms of, taking what is in Trinidad, is something going on there. How can Jamaica help it to be better? How can Trinidad do something here? What is going on in St. Kitts, or is there a way for the Caribbean nations, CFU, to really look at a collective way of building the base of Caribbean football, where there is a strengthening? Like when Trinidad is in the World Cup qualifying, and if they're the only Caribbean team, I'd love to know that there are things happening in the other territories that will help to support them to get into the World Cup.
Right. But okay, so when there was a time for Belgium that they were not having any success in the game.
Yeah.
And what Belgium did, they sat down, they invited people in, professors from universities, football people. They sat down and they started to come up with a plan. They contacted, as far as the story goes, they contacted all the federations that was willing to talk to them, and they came up with a plan that suits Belgium. Speaking to somebody in the Caribbean recently and asking the similar question to what you're asking, and being told, well, look, we tried, but we couldn't get the coaches on the island to agree on anything in football, to come up with something that worked. So the point I'm making is, if we can't do it in one island, to do it for the broader Caribbean, it's brilliant that cricket has made it happen. But football has a funny
is there too much ego?
Yeah, football is funny. Yeah, football is about whether or not, I think for most people, it seems as though it's about whether my ideas are better than yours. as opposed to, well, we both got ideas and 80% of our ideas are the same, right? And the other 20% is just something that you do that I could learn from you, or something that I do that you could learn. And but at the end of the day, the way ideas are judged is what happens on game day, right? What happens on game day? We both have our teams. We play on a league. We play in the league on every Saturday. So we have Sunday to Friday to prepare our team. And when we meet on the game day, right? Today's Arsenal ideas was better. They
Yes.
were better prepared, right? um, and that's how it's, I think we just need to step down and realize that everybody is just like in the development of a player. I may have a player from 9 till 15. That's only part of his development, right? If he moves to someone else from 15 on, 15 to 18, that's another part of his development,
Yes.
right? From 18 to 22, and everybody is playing a role in getting to that, the guys that we look at today, right?
You know what is funny, because I was just saying, I remember a few weeks ago I have Kendale Mercury. Kendale Mercury, his contract with St. Vincent and the Grenadines ended. He's a head coach and he stepped down. And in my conversation with him, he was talking about the same thing, about like what I mean. I know there are some players from his side that are here now. Why is it that there was no football in the Caribbean? There's a league in Jamaica, right? Why couldn't other Caribbean players be invited? They had all of their national players sitting down. There was no competition. The Premier League is in Jamaica. All of these teams could have taken on one player, at least one. So when that player goes back, at least those national teams would have been ready for the Nations League. So these players went to play Nations League with no competition being played in their island.
Right.
But other Caribbean islands had competition. So couldn't there, like, it's that kind of thinking that we need to develop. Like, can we get some Grenadians? Maybe have at the end of every season, the bigger club competitions have a pool of players from outside from in other Caribbean territories that you have to play at least one.
Right.
You have to select at least one in your 30-man squad. And maybe there's a pool of resources from CFU that helps to, I don't know. But I just think that we have to find a way to make everybody better, because then it will be more competitive at the Caribbean level, which would mean that we'll become more competitive at the CONCACAF level.
And you're right. If everybody in the region is getting better, we become more competitive. And if we don't do it ourselves, it would not be done, right?
Yeah.
FIFA I read in an article, they committed $200 million to Africa to do a Super League similar format to what they tried to accomplish in Europe.
Yeah.
That means that we are not on the agenda right now.
Yeah.
Right? We are not on the agenda. We are not on the list of priorities. So we have to do it ourselves. And if we don't do it ourselves, it's just going to continue to get worse. There's talk about the USA and maybe Canada, whoever, Mexico, trying to go to CONMEBOL, right? Because they believe it would develop the game better, having to qualify out of a space like that. I don't know if that conversation is real, but that certainly would hurt CONCACAF if.
But then they would reduce the amount of spaces.
Well, not only that, it's then we're going to be stuck with what's the level of the competition we're going to be with. Are we going to get better?
Yeah. And I think, like I said, I think one of the moves that need to be made is that the Caribbean territories need to find a way of making, if not all the territories, but at least if St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Antigua, Barbuda, Trinidad, Jamaica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, I just call in some of the Haiti, Cuba. If those 8 or 9 or 10 teams become more competitive, that when these games are played, you just don't know like what is going to happen. and who is going to win. And the leagues are also competitive. The improving quality, I think, would make any one of those teams having to face a Costa Rica, a Panama, so any one of the Caribbean teams can beat the USA, can beat Mexico, can beat Canada on any given day because we have built the base stronger across the Caribbean. And so we don't have to depend on Jamaica to see, well, Jamaica going to compete against Mexico. But I don't want St. Vincent's to get 6 from Mexico and
Right.
Jamaica get 1.
Right.
I want when St. Vincent goes there, Jamaica can be expecting that St. Vincent is going to beat Mexico in
Right.
Mexico.
And that's that collective security idea, right?
Yeah.
Most of the federations we talk about, and maybe it's the reality, finances, right? Anybody you talk to, finances is going to be the stumbling block. But we have to become creative, okay? So you can give this one to sports max. Maybe they are equipped to do it, right? The World Cup is coming up. The World Cup is coming up.
Yeah.
An agreement with the federation, with the idea that this is going to fund youth football, to develop youth football in Jamaica, in Trinidad. I saw it when I was at the World Cup in Germany. They have these big viewing places for the games. So you take 3 or 4 regions in the country, you put up a massive screen, okay, and you wrap it in the culture, right? So people could come there during the course of the day and watch particular games. So England, USA, I don't know, that might be of interest to people. Brazil, Argentina, right? We pick games, and so people are now paying a fee, they're buying food, right? There's music before the game, businesses are sponsoring to be part of it, and it's raising money, and people are going to watch the game. They're going to stand there and watch the game for 90 minutes. They're going to have a good time, and then they're going to go home, and a bunch of money going to be made that's going to be available for the youth game.
Yeah, you know what I just thought about? I remember they always tell me the story when this Trinidad side came to play, like they had what they call the all school team of Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
which was they selected the best players from the Manning Cup and the Costa Cup, and they played in a tournament where they played against the all school team from Trinidad
Right.
that included Dwight York, and they always
Right.
talk about how Mark Hagler Wilson was a part of the Jamaican team and how he
Uh-huh.
intimidated, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking like there could be like even a big sponsored competition where all of these the all school team from Guyana, from Trinidad, from Jamaica, from come to play a tournament, a 1 week tournament at the end of the season, just to kind of and right, and then what you do, you select a Caribbean all school. They have the names. Here is the all school 11 of 2022, Caribbean all school 11, right? So a player knows that he was one of the 11 players who was selected as one of the best in the Caribbean at the high school or the secondary education level.
Right. So this is one of the difficulties in discussing football, right? Because sometimes we go in between the different levels of the game, right? School football, anywhere in the world, I think is considered extracurricular activities,
Yes.
right? When you start talking about the best and developing the best and identifying the best, they need to be at the professional clubs on the island. So when we talk about environments, the environments that we spoke about earlier, the quality of the pitches, whatever the case may be, that's where those things are supposed to be, because that's where the players should be developed, right? So the tournament that you're talking about is a great idea, but should that not be among the pro clubs, right? As opposed to, you can have that for the high school too, but the intent of it.
I just feel like at the youth level, I would love to see it at the club level, but I think at the youth level across the Caribbean, I get the feeling like high school, especially football, is supported more than youth football at the club level. Like
So we have to fix that. We have to fix that, because extracurricular activities, grassroots football, that's a different mentality to professional football. Sometimes I feel sorry for my kids, especially the younger one, when I see the amount of work that he does when the day come, 2 training sessions, 3 training. It's a different mindset, right? It's a different mindset to schoolboy football. I think in most places. In Phil Foden probably has never played a schoolboy game,
Yeah.
right?
Bobby Akosaka at Arsenal. I can call it Eddie Nketiah, Sambi Lakanga. Never played Kieran
Right,
Tierney,
right. That's
Gabriel
how the players are
Martinelli.
being
None of
developed.
these guys ever played any schoolboy football.
No, I'm not suggesting that a
Yeah.
player can come out of there and become a pro, but should we be trying to make all our top players come out of there?
Yeah.
So there's all levels of football. There's value, right? But then we've got to identify. Um, we have to identify what we're trying to get out of each environment.
Yeah. I see Troy Malcolm again. Let me just remind those of you who don't know. So you just saw him put up earlier that there is going to be ground. Let me just put up this one first. So this is what we were talking about earlier about now that
Mm.
in the state coming back, because Troy Malcolm, like I said, he played for the school, and so they're saying that they're planning to build a state of the art sports complex at Rossi's High School. Groundbreaking is on December the 17th at the Colin Miller Sports Complex, which is in Hanover, Lucy, at the Rossi's High School. All right, so he comes down here and he says, Management and Mr. Fortune, the problem we have as a football country, we want quick fix and keep getting the same result. We must start from the grassroots level and developing the under 12. I think that is etc. So he's saying what you're saying, that we need to go to the grassroots levels and under 12 and develop it from there. But you need the environment, because you can't bring an under 12 where when he's trying to control, the ball is going to bump over his head. Though
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a very good thing, right? So I had that. I always talked about surface. So I met the national coach here. All right. And I was talking to him and I said to him, listen, one of the issues we have in Jamaica, just a different perspective that he gave
Mhm.
me, is that the surfaces sometimes affect the speed of play,
Yes.
because you have to wait longer on the ball, because it may twist and turn and
Mhm.
move, and when you're making the pass, just to get the pass to go certain places, you have to consider the bump on the stone there, or the dip in the field there. It's not smooth. And one of the things he said to me, yes, that could be a point. But what is also true is that when you go, because he has been to in Africa and seen some of those guys play on just fully dirt surface with
Mhm.
a lot of stones. And he says their control and passing is what you would call immaculate. And he says they develop a greater sense of controlling the ball and ways to do it, because the surfaces are so bad. And he said when these guys come to Europe, their touch is so good, and that is because of how bad the surface was where they were. So there are two ways to look at it. I don't know what to take on that.
There's two ways to look at it, but they're not doing that in Spain. And look, I've been fortunate, and some of these only for the purposes of the conversation. I've been lucky. I've been fortunate to see inside of some of the very big clubs, right?
Yeah.
Barcelona being one, and I came home and I couldn't sleep. That's not the case there. You know, what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's not the case. Javi didn't play
Dirt.
on dude at Football Club Barcelona, nor did Iniesta, nor did Puyol, right? So yes, maybe that's the case there, but should we make it the standard for us? We have, back to the initial part of the conversation, we have to want the best for ourselves. One of the things that first world countries do, we talk about them, we read about how they go and they take resources from here and there and all over the place, right? But one of the things that they've figured out is how to make those resources work for their people. Is somebody skimming off the top? I'm sure there is, but the majority of those
Yeah, yeah.
resources work for their people. We've got to want the best for our young people, the best, the best. We cannot justify playing in environments that is less than the best, because when I work with players, if I'm working with a 10-year-old or 12-year-old, I'm not comparing him to the 12-year-old in my area. I'm comparing him to the 12-year-old in Spain and
Yeah,
Holland.
because
And
those are the players he's going to compete with.
right, if he had that ambition, right?
Yeah,
So look, 100 million euros on a facility is not because they want to waste money, right?
yeah,
Right? They have the best. They have the best U15 stage because that's who plays on it in the country in entire England. It's just you know, and when you step onto that, it could raise your level despite your training in that space. It could raise your level 10, 15%. I don't know. Um, but we have to want the best for ourselves. We have to stop thinking that somehow less than the best will serve us well, because less than the best is not what you want for your kid,
yeah.
for your own kid. So we have to take that to other people's children too.
Yeah. All right. One of the other things I want to ask you is, when it comes on to what is happening in Trinidad. Now we have seen several of our younger players. We have like a Kareem Paris, a Krista Daly, Norman Campbell, Shamar Nicholson, Tyreek McGee, um, many more of them, young age teenagers moving into Europe from Jamaica.
Mm.
We just saw Daniel Green and Atafari Bygrave moving to Vietnam. So we see a lot of these Jamaican guys moving to other places in Europe. Is the same thing happening in Trinidad? Is it that we just don't know? It is not being highlighted, or because we are in Jamaica, we don't realize that the same move is happening in Jamaica. The
It's not
same move is happening in Trinidad. Yeah.
it's not happening. It's not happening.
But I watch the high school football and I see many talented. I watch the secondary school league that they have going on. It comes on one of the local channels, and
Mm.
I see a lot of talented youngsters there that and I know that the I think it's Jaden Sancho, his father, who is Trinidadian, runs a agency as well. I think he's even signed a Jamaican to it. So why aren't we seeing? Is it that the priority is different? Maybe they want to go on to college, or cricket is a greater interest than football there.
Well, I know that we value education tremendously, and it's the safer path for most people. And I'm not so sure in this moment why it's not happening, right? But one thing that we know is that is look, does it help? Does it help us when or any of the teams in the region, right? One of the things that happens when there are tournaments, and I speak to agents all the time, when there are tournaments, agents from all over go to watch. Does the results help us? Does the performances
Yes, I see what
help
you're
us
saying.
when and this is I'm talking about any island in the region. Does it help when we are when we're not prepared properly to go and compete with some of the best? Because nobody would look at what Jamaica did or what Trinidad did against BVI, for example. They're going to see that as a right. They're going to
Yes,
look at how do you compete against America? How do you compete against Canada? How do you compete against Mexico?
yes, yes.
Right? And we've got to start believing
Interesting. Yeah,
that we.
interesting because when I think about it, I mean, there was a time when I hear about the Angus Eve, the Shaka Hislop, Dwight York, Russell Lassapi, Leonson Lewis, Kenwin Jones. I mean, all of these guys. There was a tall, very tall keeper that used to give us a lot of problems before Shaka Hislop was in the goal. I mean, he used to give Jamaica, forgot his name, very tall goalkeeper. I think Kevin Molina was a forward that was in. He was in MLS doing well.
Yeah, he's still in the game right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I follow football and I don't hear the names of Trinidadians in England, and maybe I don't know them. I don't hear, like I said a few seasons ago, Kevin Molina was very hot in
Hmm.
the MLS. You don't
Hmm.
hear his name so much again. Maybe he's off form, but like,
Well, he had a major injury, a knee injury,
yeah.
and he's recently come back from it. He was in Thailand as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that when you think about Jamaica, you think about like big name like you hear a Leon Bailey, a Kaim Paris. There are these names that probably persons in the Caribbean probably they have heard of. You hear
Right.
about a Andre Blake, which is closer
Right.
in the MLS. I'm not hearing like from the other territories, and I'm not hearing from Trinidad. In fact, there are more Haitians. I saw a Haitian playing in the Champions League for the Israeli side.
Mhm.
Um, Maccabi, whatever his name is,
Maccabi Haifa.
yes, he plays
Hmm.
a Haitian player. He
Right.
starts in it. So there are
Mhm.
Haitians. I see a couple of them in France as well, a couple in MLS. But I'm not seeing the same thing for the other territories and
Yeah.
in particular Trinidad. And maybe my expectations are too high. But I've always felt like Trinidad ought to be right up there, that almost anything that Jamaica is doing, Trinidad, it should be right up there or close enough to Jamaica.
I agree with you, and I believe that this week you heard about Andre Fortune and Johnny Fortune, right? So you can't. We have Levi Garcia who's playing in where is he? He's in Turkey. Is it in Turkey? AKE at
Greece.
and he's in Greece, right? Him and his brother is over there. Um, we have who else we have? We have some guys in Belgium. We have what's his name? The center back. I'm the worst with names, but we have a few guys out there. There's
Okay.
nobody doing. There's nobody. There's nobody in England, of course. There's nobody doing though in Trinidad what you guys do
Okay.
in Jamaica, right?
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
because look, the results could have something to do with it, right? They haven't had football at home for a long time, and most of the games that we play, they are away.
Okay.
So people may not be in tune. I don't think that the fan base at the moment really know the players and who they are.
What about like I don't know, maybe our context is different, but we have so many Jamaicans or persons of Jamaican heritage in England and in the United States. Like Jamaica, based on heritage, could form like 3 teams in England and
Mhm.
20 in the United States.
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think Jamaica could form like 20 just with
Mhm.
people with Jamaican heritage.
Right.
If you check it out, could form 20 teams of 20 players in the United States easily, and probably 3 or more in England.
And
Right?
that's why I
Yeah,
think I think you would agree it's a shame that Jamaica is not in this World Cup.
I am telling you.
When
Because
it when it
you go ahead.
when you look at the resources that's available to Jamaica, um, Jamaica should have been at this World Cup. But also it could also be not such a good thing because, as we mentioned earlier, football is an industry, and all of those players are outside. They're born outside. They belong elsewhere. Whatever money is involved in their movement or what is not coming to Jamaica, right? So, does it? Do we depend too much on that and not put an infrastructure in place so that Jamaica could develop players, so that Trinidad could develop players? In
Yeah.
this case, in Jamaica, we need an infrastructure in place so that there are players coming out
Yeah.
of Jamaica that could represent the national team. Look, the national team, the national team job, the head coach, is one of the most important jobs in the country. The national team is a very important part of the country because the pride that it brings to the country when the national team that it's supposed to bring, when the national team step on the pitch, is something that we should be invested in. The people feel good about it. I'm sure you felt good in some ways. You lost to Argentina, but you had a 45 minutes of football at least in the first half. That was good.
Competitive. Yeah, yeah,
Right,
definitely.
and it probably says to Jamaicans that we could compete, we can play at this level, right? With more preparation and more of what others do to make themselves competitive. So, um, at the end of the day, there's so much. I think we need to take it little bit by little bit.
Yeah.
I am still arguing that at the end of the day, if we don't want the best footballs, the best training kit, the best fields, the best hotels, the best food, the best transportation for our players, and work to make that possible, and not say, well, we don't have the money for that, right? If we want that, we could make it happen, and we have to work to make it happen. It doesn't come just like that. And I think that's the mindset shift that we need, for the other things to work. Because look, football is, I think we can take care of the football. You just mentioned how many people from that live out in England and America and all over the place that has ideas about the game. The football could come together. We have people in the Caribbean. The premier coaching educator in the Caribbean right now is from Trinidad.
Yes.
Right?
Condell. Is Condell or Condell?
Anton Cornell.
Cornell, yes.
Right. Yes. So at the end of the day, the football is going to take care of itself if we don't get it. Seems as though there's a lot of personality conflicts as well.
You,
right?
you know what is funny, right?
Uh-huh.
So Anton Cornell, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of the training in CFU to build the coaches, the capacity of the coaches, including those from Jamaica, even
Right.
Rudolph Speed, Rudolph Speed, the under 20 coach, the under 17 coach, the under 15 coach. All of these guys have received some level of training from Anton. All right.
Right. Uh-huh.
And then you would think, like, the fact that he's in Trinidad and that is like first place, that the under 15, under 17, under 20 teams there would be doing better.
Right. So,
but it's not, there's like a disconnect somewhere, you know.
Right, because there's a lot of other pieces right now. I don't know if you remember, but on Friday, I had messaged you that Arsenal was going to win 3-1.
Yes.
Right, and I also sent the same message to a friend, and he thought I was crazy, right? Because it's Liverpool.
He supports Liverpool, right?
Yeah. He support United, but he'd love Arsenal to lose. But what make me, there's a couple of things, and one of the most important things that I think that would make me arrive at that conclusion is that I don't think all is well at Liverpool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something wrong. So the point I'm making is that there's so many different pieces that need to come together that it should not and cannot fall on the backs of one person. Right? Yeah. We need when you talk about football and developing the game, there's so many different pieces that we need to do it together. We cannot do it. We cannot put it all on one individual because it's just going to be too much work.
Yeah. Listen, this has been a very informative conversation. I know Sean said he wanted to come on. I sent him the link, but I haven't heard from him yet. I don't know where he's hiding in the background somewhere, so I'm going to leave him. But people, I want to remind you a couple of things, right? So you need to like this video, you need to subscribe, you need to share. All right. Andre and I will be doing a lot of shows together. In fact, there is, like I said, we're launching a new platform. We'll be covering a lot of stuff in the Caribbean, because the truth is, when you're in Jamaica, you just hear the Jamaican stuff. We want to know what is happening in Trinidad. And maybe by us talking, there's probably one idea that he will raise that someone in Trinidad will hear, and that will bring change. So you'll be seeing a lot more of him talking to people, doing interviews, just speaking about the state of football in the Caribbean and what we can do collectively to lift the standards of it and have changes and transformation in CONCACAF, and hopefully in our lifetime see one of the Caribbean teams advance into quarterfinals or semifinals of a World Cup, right? Male, female, or something. But we have to begin to believe that and work together as a collective unit. I think that the Caribbean is stronger together than we are apart. All right. So he's so let me make sure I get him. All right. So we're going to close, but we have one very special caller who if he didn't call in, he would lose his job. So if he knows what's good for him, he better call in. You know. So let's see if he's going to call, and if he snoozes, he loses. So
Right.
he better make the phone call very fast. But Kendall Reyes says excellent discussion and well articulated by both host and guest. Appreciate that, Kendall Reyes. Really appreciate that. And
Yeah,
listen,
Kendall is a Trinidadian.
yeah. And one thing, listen, we don't want to, when we speak about the football, whether from the players or the administrative perspective, we want to offer constructive criticism. But not
Mm-hmm.
only that, is to offer solution. And I always tell people like, listen, there is always another way, right? There's always another way. So you can explore it. You can listen to it and see if it works. And so I tell this story often about the young lady who her husband saw her baking chicken in the we have a call coming in. So is this Coach Sean?
Evelyn.
All right, Coach Sean, you call right in the middle of the story, so you gotta hold on, all right?
Yeah, man, that's cool.
We're gonna put you on long hold because you called too late. So just hold on.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
All right. So she was baking chicken in the toaster. So her husband asked her, "Why are you baking the chicken in the toaster?" So she said, "Well, that's what I saw my mother doing. So if you want to know when you see my mother, you can ask her." So he
Right.
said, "Fine, I'll ask your mother." So they went over to her mother's house one Sunday for dinner and they asked mother, "Why does Katie bake the chicken in the toaster oven?" She said she learned it from you. She said, "Yes, because I saw my mother doing it. So
Right.
that's why I did it." So
Mm-hmm.
they had a family reunion and his wife said, "Well, there is grandma. Go and ask her why she did it." So they went to the grandma. The husband asked, "Why do you bake chicken in the toaster oven?" He says, "Well, I did not have any other oven, so I had to use the toaster."
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so here it is that the daughter had an oven, the mother had an oven,
Uh-huh.
and they weren't using it.
Right.
Right? It's not
Right.
that it was wrong, but there was
Right.
a better way.
Right.
So I tell people that when I meet with my leaders on Sundays, I never say to them this went wrong. I always ask this question: what can we do better?
Right. Right.
So there's always a better way. So for the persons listening, I want you to remember that this is not about what is wrong, is what we can do better collectively for the betterment of all of us. All right, Coach Sean, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Evelyn.
Good evening, man. You're live on air.
All right. Good discussion. But I think that, in my opinion, I met Coach Andre about a little bit over 10 years ago, right? Just moved to the area, Raleigh, North Carolina, and was at a ball field, and him have about 4 youths with him, right? And two of them was his youths, but the little youths, right?
Yeah.
And at the time we play some keeper away. We never could call that rando, keeper away, right? And you see the little youth there and you say, what? There's something going on here, you know? But mind you, at the time, I never know his background in the game or none of that. So, years go on, I get to spend some more time with him, and he as a, ourselves from Jamaica, the Caribbean, you know, when we have an elder around you and the elder is positive, you kind of drawn to them, right?
Yeah.
So, that's how me and Coach Andre relationship become what it is today. I know, about 5 years ago, this fall, I have 4 kids. One of them turned 15 the other day, and he wasn't playing nowhere before I joined the club IDF, right? And like I said before that, I know his work based on the kids that was was in the program, his sons, you know, and the kids that benefited from just being, you know, want to play and have a different place to play and have a different experience. And what I'm trying to say is, when I just met him, I had no idea. More than 10 years on, you know, my kids would be in a club that he started.
Oh,
You know what
wow.
I'm saying?
Yes, yes. So when you met him,
Yeah.
you didn't foresee this happening.
I didn't foresee that happening,
Yes.
right? And but here what even worse, right? The narrative around him as a coach, right, was very skewed, right? It was, and you know, as Jamaicans, when I hear people say something, sometimes you want to hear it for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, you come to find out 10 years on, right? It's the work that the man was doing, you know, and the threat it kind of posed why the narrative was like that. Because management, like me tell you, Jackie Walters coached me, Junior Samuels coached me, right, at Clarendon College,
Yes.
right? I've been through some good coaches in Jamaica, right? And the other day I had him on the phone sometime last year, and I had Junior Samuels on the phone, and it was a joy, because I said to myself, it's when I'm with Junior Samuels, I said to myself, I can play football, right? But also the way I see him as a coach and the work he's done with kids that they wouldn't have no future in the game, it's unbelievable, dude. You understand? And when I see that, and I said, how can a man like this, you know, can get a job with Trinidad? And I know he'll even go there for free to go coach. You understand?
Yes.
So this is the thing that you talk about unity, and you see why it's hard for us to come together and do something. Because me, if I could get that guy a job in Jamaica, I'll get him a job in Jamaica. Because, you know, even his younger son spent some time with Butler, right? Because he was down there for a week. I don't think
Okay.
he tell you that part.
Oh,
You understand?
okay. Spent a week with Craig Butler.
Yeah, because his youth was that good, and you know, if I have a connect, I'm gonna call it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
if I'm telling you, I think, right? I know this is not the conversation, but I know that this guy, whatever Caribbean country he get, especially a youth team, and get some time with them, it's trouble. You understand? I see that day in, day out. You know, and I'm not making this up, dude. You know, it's different, man. Whenever you're in the States, man, we gotta bring you over. Come spend some time and see the environment. You know.
Don't worry. I'll be in Gray, South Carolina, so I'll just scoot on over.
When you gonna be in Gray? When are you gonna be in Gray?
I don't know. I don't. But not too long from now. What I'm going to be great. Yeah. I have an engagement.
You can come and show us something. We are learners now. We are learners. Mike,
who you know from management? Who you know from Vallejo?
Everybody.
you know Vision.
I know I know the Valley persons in the Valley persons. No, I know Butler and I, Carlton and Emilio.
All right, so Aduyan is probably like the next third guy in charge here, right? He did a lot of work with the league down there, right? He's always traveling.
Oh, you're talking in the one up by Abercon?
No, he's from here. He's from Boston too. But he does a lot of the work for Vallejo.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to connect the dots to let you know. Fortune does a lot of work with him even back in the day. Fortune is one of the guy
Oh, we're
That see
doing
something.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. All right. So I'm actually supposed to be with them. As you can see, I have my
Yeah.
I have a lot of Vallejo stuff. My Iron Man
Yeah.
shirt is Vallejo. So the link is
You're
very
connected, right?
yeah. And I also have
nah, we
Fort
can't be
Fort
my
St. Lucie.
Jamaica passport, man.
Could I add this? And I'm gonna add this just for I want to create a link. I'm making the point in this conversation that we have to want the best for every kid that we come in contact with, just as though it was ours, right? And I think that's the main point. I think that's going to help the football in the Caribbean. So he just mentioned Dwayne. Dwayne was a youth that I saw that I believe had tremendous talent. Finished high school, and and this is just only to make the link for no other reason. And Dwayne, I thought had so much talent that his talent should do something for him, right? And we were able to get him to go to school. Maybe at a time, I'm not sure if he was thinking about that. And that's what I would have wanted for my son. What he was doing at the moment, I don't think that was best use of his talent, right? And we kind of guided him to make sure. And today, he showed up a few weeks ago in our space, and I didn't know he was coming. He showed up, and I said, "Would you like to do a session?" And he said yes. And I was so proud of him. I was so proud of him, the work that I saw him do that day, right? To see how he has blossomed and grown into a young man. And what I'm saying is, there's other people been involved in his life, I'm sure, that has helped him. But in that moment, it was my opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And I saw him as my son. I wanted for him, I wanted success for him as bad as I wanted it for my
Your
son,
own son. Yeah.
right? And that is the transition that we need to make in the Caribbean. In my opinion, based on my observation of and reading of what's going on and talking to people, that is the transition that's going to begin to transition our football in the right direction.
Yeah. 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 I think that is key, and we have to find a way. Maybe by the more we speak about it, it is the more people will begin to believe it. Because I think, like I said, all of us must be better together for one of us to be very good. I
Yes,
don't think we're gonna be as good as we can be in the Caribbean if only Jamaica and Trinidad are. If only three of us are good, then we're not going to be good enough. But when all of us at all levels, on the male and the female side, are highly competitive, that when a game is being played, like back in the days, let's when they used to have the Shell Cup and you hear that Jamaica and Trinidad playing, it's a blockbuster. Big,
yeah,
big turn up because, I mean, will York score or will Paul T. got David score for Jamaica? How this game going to end? It's a big Caribbean game. There, all of that is out of it.
it's lying dormant at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I see Kendall Reyes saying that visionary leadership that can formulate a collective and comprehensive strategic plan for football is necessary. This is to ensure that programs look beyond the short term, prepare for tournament.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yep.
sailing point, Kendall Reyes.
Yes.
Yeah, it can't be, and I think Troy had said it earlier. It is like our new coach said this. I'm not coming to Jamaica to qualify for the World Cup. I brought Iceland there. It must be to qualify for the World Cup and go to the round of 16 in the World Cup and look to
Right.
go further and to qualify for the next World Cup and to qualify for the U20s and the U17. That has to be like a long-term plan, a
Yes.
sustainable long-term plan. And I say to people that the Caribbean, every other cycle, a Caribbean nation should be in the World Cup. I think we are
I
good
agree
enough
with you.
that if we miss one cycle, it cannot be an next 10 or 12 years. And
Yeah.
for us, every cycle, every other cycle. So if we miss this cycle with years none, the next one should be in it. So I think we are due one in 2026, and we're going to do one more in 2034.
Well, think about it. In 2026, what's out there? There's America, Canada, and Mexico has already qualified
Yeah.
because they are hosts.
Yeah.
And so FIFA is offering 3 additional slots plus
Right.
2
Because it
half
goes up to,
slots.
yeah, because it goes up to 48.
Right. So there's up to 8 teams from CONCACAF could qualify.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I mean, why should Jamaica not be there? Why should
Our
Trinidad not
Trinidad,
be
yeah.
there?
Our Haiti.
Right. Yes. Yes. The opportunity is there. But, your coach is talking about the things that he's talking about. That's long-term planning, right? To give it context, the country needs a game model. The country needs, if it doesn't have one, the country need a way of identifying young
Identity,
talent.
yes, yeah.
What is the criteria for identifying talent, right? The country needs an environment that could then nurture that talent based on a long-term vision, right? Where every position from goalkeeper to striker understands their roles and responsibility within the context of playing for Jamaica at every level of the game, right? Whether it's U15, U17, U19, what is the formation? So at the end of the day, there's plenty work to be done. We have to believe as a people that we can do the work, and no one person could do it. We need to figure out how to work together to get it done. I work with a Jamaican coach. I work with a Trinidad coach, and there was a time in my career when I thought I had to have my hands on everything, and they came in and they trusted what the club was doing, and slowly but surely I start to give them, because they buy into the philosophy, right? They understand how we teach things, and now today, Mike just called in. He's one of the coaches. He just away coaching a game, right? Because I had this to do. So he's just driving back, right? And it was important that that this
Yeah.
get done well.
Yeah.
So because I now trust them. I now trust them, and I know that I can't do it for myself. I can't be everywhere at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Awesome conversation. Yes, so Coach Sean. You still there? Yeah, man. So thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you calling in. Please be safe on the road as you head back home. How did the game go? As you go.
You lost him?
Oh, yeah. I think we lost him, and then he was trying to get back. Sorry, Coach Sean. Right? So maybe he will link us back to tell us. Yes. But not to worry, any result is okay because Arsenal won today. We don't care about any other results because Arsenal.
Well, we do. In my case, we do care about City. We do care about City at times, but
Yes. But Coach, I'll give you the last word. What you want to say in closing, and I just want people to remember that we have more work to do. There is going to be, I am sure, Sports Caribbean, where a lot of the content on that we have to go through certain processes. You have to establish the channel, and then YouTube allows you to go on it. So that may happen tomorrow. We're going to put this interview on it, and then we're going to have more, and then you'll see more from Mr. Fortune talking to other persons in football across the Caribbean. Like I said, we also did an interview with Kendale Mercury, the coach of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it's amazing that his, like what you're saying and what he said are so similar because it's one Caribbean at the end. And our problems and the solutions are similar, I think, right across. And here Kendall Reyes is saying that capitalization of the use of all available human resources, both foreign and domestic, can move the needle significantly. Yeah, we have to find a way to get the people in the Caribbean to believe that those in the diaspora can help and want to help. We have to get them and to accept them. And then we have to get those in the diaspora to also understand that the people who are living on the islands believe that you people in the diaspora always come like you know more than us. So, there are two sides. You don't want them to feel like you're better off than them. You want them to know that, listen, we're coming to make both of us better. I want to learn from you and you can learn from me. We're not coming to take over. We're coming to move together. And that must be the message. But I leave the final word to Coach Andre Fortune. So go ahead, Coach, and just
Look, I think after listening to you guys for a long time and seeing the impact that you seem to be having on the game in Jamaica. And look, every flogger is not the same, right? People approach this thing from different perspective. But I think for the region, if we can have conversations, um, even we need to have conversation that's grounded in facts, that is void of emotion. We should be able to give our opinion that's based on our experience, so that we can move this thing in the right direction. The emotions, a thing gets in the way. I believe that, sincerely believe that Trinidad and Jamaica, in particular, as the two, and of course, would bring other nations or other islands along, should be competing at every level in CONCACAF for a World Cup spot every time around. And it's just hard to stomach that we are not doing that at every cycle. And I'm just hoping that we can have these discussions, that somehow somebody with the authority could make the necessary decisions to help begin this process, right? My commitment to football in the region, the only thing that I could have done, I had 2 kids that play the game, is to commit them to the island. That's the only thing that I could have done. And if they can contribute, that's great. And I think outside of that, in terms of my own expertise, I'm happy to be involved. Right? The word help is a bad word on the island. You can't use the word help. So I'm happy to be involved and work with people to try to get the young people believing. We can't not believe that we can compete with America. This is about confidence. A Premier League player told me one time that everybody in the Premier League can play. Everybody can play. The difference is confidence on any given day. Okay, so we have to get our young people to that level where we can be competitive and move into other spaces. We don't only have to look to Europe. There's a good league in Costa Rica. There's good league in Argentina, in Brazil. We just got to figure out a way forward, and it's going to take us all working together.
Yeah. All right, so people, listen, there you have it. Wonderful, wonderful discussion. We want to thank our guest, Mr. Andre Fortune, to all the persons from Jamaica, Trinidad, and across the region and in the United States, England, wherever you're watching from. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, remember to subscribe to I Am Sure Sports if you have not, and look out for I Am Sure Sports Caribbean. So tomorrow you will have this interview on I Am Sure Sports Caribbean, and we'll be giving you a lot of content on it. Also tomorrow we'll be having a very interesting conversation. We'll be having the head of the finance committee, the same person who is supposed to be the general secretary, Mr. Dennis Chung, on the program. And we're going to have a couple other persons with him, and we're going to discuss just some of the rules and function of a general secretary in a broader scheme. So you want to be a part of that discussion. That's tomorrow, and it will be on both platforms. So again, join us for that tomorrow. Look out for the notification, hit that notification bell. Again, a big thank you. I am Manning's man, right? I am the Manning's man. That is the fortunate one, right? He said Arsenal 3-1. The good thing is that we get along because we are gunners, man. And you don't have to like it, but right now we are winning our Premier League title. I know some of you, all you haters, don't like it, but don't worry. I mean, I'm celebrating more than you right now. You understand me? I'm sitting at the top of the table. We are sitting at the top of the table.
Top of the table, my youth.
That's all that matters right now. So you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the evening. Normally, when we get to this point, we say, I am Management. This has been I Am Sure Sports. And we say we are over and we are O-U-T out of here.
Boom, check it out. I don't know it's Jason. I'm a represent for I Am Sure Sports. For the latest news and updates, check out I Am Sure Sports. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel, subscribe and share. Jace representing I Am Sure. I Am Sure Sports.